All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Dismount podcast. And today we are discussing teachers. Are you hot for them? If you're probably not born in the 1990s, you have no clue what that reference slaps back to. Are you hot for them? It was a song, but we're vibing, and we tried to come up with a funny thing. We're trying it out here.
Yep.
The marketing, our marketing team is absolutely slaying it nowadays, folks, and we're feeling great. So today, teachers, mentors, leaders, that's what we're discussing. And let's set the precedence real quick that we have had some fantastic family and role models and all that kind of stuff in our life that have been great teachers for us. There are some for myself, I know both of you guys, that we held off of these lists because we are really focusing on just teachers, mentors, and leaders from our life, not really the people who bloodline that taught us so much. Now,
no talk about how to learn how to wipe your ass today. I know who taught me that.
Wait, what age did you guys learn? Because I'm still working.
You have to learn how to wipe your butt?
Yeah, I just rub it on whatever's close by.
Okay.
Wow. This guy's got a bidet. That's why he's had a bidet. Rich kid.
Would prefer that.
Would prefer.
You know what I like?
I've heard.
Shout out Adam. Every time I go to Adam's house, even if I pee, I still use the bidet.
I feel like we've had this conversation. Yep, we've talked about this.
Dude, I sit down and pee at Adam's house.
Hey, why not?
It's clean. It's sanitary, and we are discussing our top 4 characteristics. We have this massive list. We've been taking notes together on this Notion app, and it's been pretty clutch for us this past week, getting back into the swing of things. And for me, we had this massive list, and on our YouTube page, on our YouTube video, we'll probably drop that list right here, right now, just to file all those at you. But for me, teacher, most important, patience, number 1 for me. If a teacher is not patient, and that's why I feel like I am not a good teacher, because I just know that I do not have the patience yet.
This?
Gosh, why don't you get it? It's so easy to see. No, my patience with how terrible I am with traffic, and that's something that we'll get into today is, and this was a side note. Are you hot for it?
I hate
Things in life that are more predominant teachers than you ever give,
Traffic is a good one.
Traffic is a good one.
That's crazy.
Traffic is 100% up there. That is my GOAT teacher to learn this top 1 that I'm discussing right here, which is patience.
Yeah.
Dude, not having patience when all you're doing is driving down 51 and you're going to get stuck at another light. And it's like, oh, you had to get past 3 people.
Why do they make the lights like this? So if one turns green, the next one turns red.
No, I understand. I understand. It is, it's a philosophy.
Get it.
Who knows? These people just don't get it. The light should just keep going green for just me, right?
Yes. I'm the only person driving.
Oh, man. Patience, number 1, 100% for me on this list. Communication skills, number 2. If this person cannot communicate the point that they are trying to teach, or 2, be able to touch your sensitive capabilities of being able to take in this knowledge, then nothing's going to get ultimately set in stone, and you're not going to learn the lesson or any of the teaching that is going to be provided.
Yeah.
Now, organized, structured, having some type of bing, bing, bang, 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 this is how it goes. I know that this is one of those ones that is super this could easily be pulled off this list for me.
I was going to say, that might be underrated for me, actually, though.
Yeah.
It's something I haven't considered.
Same.
Underrated.
Yeah, I might have not considered that one, but now that you've mentioned it, you have to consider how important that is.
But well-rounded. For me, this is the jack of all trades, but master of none type of mentality, to where I want my teacher to be someone who's not just, this is how it is in the book. This is how it is. I want common knowledge that common ways that what I'm being taught has been shown to me in personal experience.
Okay. Yeah, you can see how it's useful in your life. You can put yourself in the shoes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why do we care?
It's practical. It's not like, I don't know, learning for weeks on end how to write in cursive. I'm still angry.
Sitting there and
Yep.
spending. He's so angry
still
about this
angry.
cursive.
Could have learned another language.
Yeah, exactly. I could have learned a whole new
learned
language.
a whole new language.
Instead of learning how to draw in roller coaster font.
Roller coaster font.
Like,
Thomas Jefferson over here.
yeah.
So top 4 tit, fire us up.
Top 4, I would say patience is my number 1, which credit to you guys. You guys both selected that. I would have ever looked at it like, yeah, I'd rather have like passion or something else. It's like, well, it's one of those things you don't notice until it's not there. And when it's not there, you might be sitting in the audience classroom right next to the person. And if it's not there, you might be like fighting your mental checkout. You're like, if they're not going to give me the patience, I don't know if I'm going to be patient with them back.
Right.
My next one I put down was adaptability, and Derek and I were selecting them at the same time. So I saw he checked that one off, and I was about to pass it up, and I was like, no, I can't. Out of our list, I can't pass up adaptability. Like, you know how much it changes all the time? If all of a sudden they need to like change their lesson plan around because like Johnny, Susan, Thomas, all these people don't have the book. If that person doesn't know that book, like their lesson plan front and back, and able to like just like go, all right, I guess we're not going to have like a group read out of the class. Instead, we're going to talk about like the actual material. Like if they can't think on their feet, then I don't think they really have a good sense of what they're teaching.
Yeah, that to me would be that. I like that one because right off the bat, as soon as you started talking about that, I thought, all right, this is the one that could pull out organized, structured for me and replace it.
Actually, yeah, that's exactly whenever you were saying that, I really wanted it to be like, which one would I change? And I'm like, no, maybe I'll keep adaptability in it, substitutes for the structure. Yeah. But they can't be just coming in and winging it every day. Derek and I had a math teacher who that seemed like that was just her general approach. It was just like, all right, today we're going to wing it. Tomorrow I won't be here. You're doing crosswords. Like, legitimately, that I don't want to put her on blast, but she's doing it to herself. But it was like 30 days. We're all 30 days. We're just doing crosswords and word searches. And it's like, you're not teaching us.
In math class.
Yeah. It's
Math class.
It was like, here, you find division between the lines. It was like, why don't I just like divide? Why don't we just count? We're here for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Let's just do a little bit of like the things we're here for, like the application. The next one I had, let's see, I had patience, adaptability, knowledgeable is up there. Knowledgeable. They need to already have been there and at least have the like aptitude to be able to figure something out while you're working with it. I would say like when I worked as a machinist, I would know who to go to and who not to go to. There's like plenty of people I was like, okay, I know that they have been here for 30 years. I'm going to them.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody that's been there for like 2 years, I might just not even ask them because I'm like, well, you might just tell me I really don't know. And that happened a lot. People would be like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd never done that part before. So knowledgeable, I definitely want that person to at least have like a firm grasp of whatever we're trying to work on. And the last one was like, they genuinely care or genuinely give a fuck. It to me, it's necessary because like patience, you notice it when it's gone. When somebody doesn't care, I had a teacher for intro to logic. People would ask a question that was actually a genuinely good question for an entry-level class in philosophy. You just go, like, that was a dumb question. It's like, sorry, man, excuse me. You've been doing this for 40 years. This is my first 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So that's my number 4. And there's some that I could honestly switch out, like the organized and structured. But that guy was very organized and very structured. Full reading list. He gave us the entire map. So you could honestly teach yourself the whole class in like a month and a half if you were that inspired and motivated.
Yeah.
But I would have rather him give a fuck. But that's just me.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
That one definitely makes a shit ton of sense of why that should be on the list. Because if you don't care, like you said, it is super noticeable. Super noticeable. I want to understand why empathy is on your list.
Yeah. I think because being able to see a person for a person is important.
Okay.
Understanding, and I think it went into like the adaptability too, just because of like you're going to be dealing with different minds and different students, and not one way of teaching is going to get through to every single person. So I think the adaptability is important because you have that in your back pocket to be able to be flexible and be a chameleon based on the environment you're in. But then the empathy of like, I guess like and empathy could be like slash with like the awareness of like the people you're actually teaching, and knowing that like, it's going to take more work to get through to people, and you actually have to care. And that's why empathy might actually carry into a lot of these categories, just because like you have to give a fuck, you have to have the patience, you have to, but like actually see a person for a person and not just a student. I think that's genuinely very important to get through to people.
Is that what takes you? Would that being on your list, is that what brought your coach as probably one of your top?
No,
Top teachers?
no.
No?
He was like a army general. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. He's no empathy. I mean, yes, like he cared about our development for sure, and genuinely cared. Like I still talk to him to today. So yeah, he cared for us on a very deep level for sure. But I don't think like our development was based off of his empathy. I think our development was based off of like his positive attitude, like his genuine give a fuck, and then passion. Like he was so passionate about what he did. But anyway, like the empathy I think is important. I know that's one we didn't mention. I do have patience. I don't want to speak too much on that because we covered it, but I think the last one was the genuine give a fuck for me. It's so dude, it mattered so much younger, it matters so much now, no matter who you look at as like a teacher, like even developing in a current job or something like that, like that person. And it's so easy to tell the difference, like you mentioned, you can see right through it. And there's no way that I can't buy in, or there's no way I can buy in to what you're selling if I don't see you buying into it on your end too, like on a true level.
Yeah.
That person will never get through to me if that isn't the case.
Yeah, if they don't actually, I guess the way I would phrase it is embody what they're actually teaching.
You gotta walk the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see right like that's just who I am. I can see through it.
That's what for me, what I would consider one of my most important teachers was definitely Robert Draper from Point Park. Shout out my man. And dude honestly just like left CMU, and like they told him like you got to get a doctorate, and he was like, I've done how much in my life? No, I'll just go basically build out a program somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we went build out a program at like Point Park, and absolute G. So for me, like that teacher was someone who genuinely gave a fuck. They had so much patience because it took so long. I mean, it's going to take time to build something like that out, right? Just walk off, do your own thing. So they already have the patience. They had I would say the organized structure to be able to build something like that out. This guy to me was like, this was the mentality of like, you're not going to tell me what I'm capable of. Like I'm going to go out there and I'm going to show you what I'm capable of. And that to me in a teacher was like, you can strive to be whatever you really want to be.
Very empowering.
And I tried so hard, like and that's, I don't have, like, I have a good amount of notes for this episode, but like, I really felt like you could sit here and really dig deep, really dig deep into like your psyche and like where your life went and like your schooling and all that.
Well, I was going to say we should just start branding our podcast as Three Idiots Psychoanalyze Themselves for an Hour.
I like that one.
Some people might be searching that.
It's basically what we're doing.
Kinda.
Kinda.
I'm the one who has any training. No, kidding.
Yeah.
This guy
takes notes on both of us the whole time.
Yeah, we had no clue he's been keeping a whole book.
Yeah. No, I think like you said, the walk makes such a big difference. And like you mentioned my coach, and that's the one that stands out. Like I have a list of people that came across me in like my personal life, but he's the one he was there. Like he was successful in what he did in rowing. And I think one that we didn't really have written down, it came through his encouragement, but like I think the belief in the people you're teaching is so important. Like to actually like visualize their success before they even can. And then being genuine in making sure that they don't let up on what you can see inside them before maybe they can even see it too.
Yeah.
Like that was huge for me with him because dude, I showed up at rowing and I'm like, this is something I don't want to do. I don't think I could ever do at a high level, and I'd prefer if you stop telling me that you think I'd be really good at it because it's annoying to me. But then, like, I'll never forget the first practice. Like, I showed up because John and Ryan dug me over there, and I was leaving. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll see you on Monday. And I'm like, what? Like, fucking, I showed up for 4 more years, you know? But it was that just, I think, like you mentioned, a couple different aspects of what makes it important, but like that belief and like seeing it before I could see it was really cool.
Yeah. Wow, that might be the GOAT of all. Like, we didn't even have that really. None of us threw that down as a quality for, like, probably, that might be the GOAT quality.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something that's more important than that, but
I really can't.
Yeah.
At this point in time, to me, that is the most important thing for
because
a teacher.
it kind of embodies like 5 or 6 of qualities at once. Like they have to be able to see who you are and treat you as a human being. They have to be empathetic, and they have to have encouragement along the way, and they have to be knowledgeable. But like all of that like kind of cycles into like believing in their students and willing to put all that into it.
Yeah.
I guess faith would be probably the best word I can come up with. You gotta have faith. But yeah, I'm just
teacher for you, Ted.
We talking ambiguous category or a general person?
General person. Whatever you want.
Oh man. I mean, I had these down and there's some that came up and I was like, what lessons can you pull from? Let's say one of the people who's taught me the most probably be and talk about even like split hairs. I'll just say one, and then if I get to the other, I'll get to it. But Sister Roberta from Incarnation Academy deserves a shout out because she basically taught people how to argue and how to like teach themselves and how to like pay attention to things, break things down. She taught us religion and history at the same time. She taught us one class she had religion and one class she had history. She would tie them together. She would line up the reading material and the stuff that we worked on all under similar themes. So that way, like, she'd really be able to break things down. So she'd be like, okay, like, we'll get into this topic in like an hour and a half whenever I see you in the next class after lunch.
Wow.
So like if she'd have the same kids, she'd be able to be like, okay, well, like, this ties into a topic for later. So I'll just save that for after lunch.
Yeah.
But she was a sister. She was hard. She was the first person who was like, she taught us all, like, if we were like shaking hands like a fish, she'd be like, come in, like, shake hands like a man. Like, be like, yeah, you gotta let them know, give them 3 pumps, boom, boom, boom. Like, but she was tough. She was awesome. She had us all looking into a lot of like revolutionary types of protests and stuff, like Gandhi, civil rights movement, a lot of stuff on like Malcolm X, Lawrence of Arabia, tapping in all these areas. And then we'd have like formal debates where we like have to like hop on a side, hop on another side. We'd have sometimes you'd be in classes with 6th graders, 7th graders, or 8th graders. So she structured it so you could learn off of 8th graders too, as well as her. So she kind of set classes up for everyone to succeed. And then within that realm, we had an English teacher we had an essay the second day of school. First day, I'm coming into 6th grade. It's like the official middle school. You know, it's going to be hard. People are always talking about like all the writing you do. We came up and we had challenge by choice, which was this thing where you require every single member in your group to pass an obstacle. So you would need, on the very first day, everyone was training on how to get past an obstacle. And then on the second day, you had to write an essay on it. So you had to show up with an essay after the first day. I was like, But yeah, she was the principal. So I give her credit for that because she probably like might have told the English teacher, like, hey, we're going to have an essay first day of school.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so Sister Roberta, I'll just leave her on my number one.
Number one.
Goat.
Yep.
Katie's personal goat.
Probably why I don't write that much, because I just like came in immediately, just slap. Boom. Here's an essay.
Right when you were actually enjoying doing that for yourself?
Yeah. We had every semester, we would have an essay day where every single class you had to write about what you were learning and what you enjoyed about it, all that stuff. You had to do that
and
one
you had
essay.
To handwrite back in those
days.
Yes.
You had to write for 7 or 8 periods straight. You were just writing. And you'd have to have multiple pencils or pens with you. And you would just write for that class. Next period, math comes. you have to write about math, an essay on math.
Yeah.
And then, so everyone, it was pretty much like you either take up a whole page or most of the page, or even the back of the page, and then you go to the next class. There's only one time you didn't have to do that, and it was worse. Achievement day. You had one semester or a quarter, however you want to divide it, where you didn't have to write all damn day. And that day you had to have like 3 or 4 essays and then a tri-full board, and you had to present it. Cool. And you had to put the essays on the board.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, this is what I achieved this year. I was like, yeah, I did all this. And then some people, it was a great model because you didn't want to be the schmuck who came in. You're like, yeah, I had this nice drawing. You're like, nah, that's not going to cut it. That doesn't cut it. Yeah, you got to do something outside of school that's like at least moderately substantial. So they push you to try to be like a well-rounded individual. But yeah, here's a G.
Well-rounded.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
You didn't want to come be like that schmuck who just had nothing that they achieved.
Yeah. Scaring the living shit out of you.
Yeah, coming into 6th grade, it's like, I'm only 11.
Yeah.
For me, another one of my like go-to like top teachers might actually be potentially like a mentor. Kind of looking back at it now, but Dan Owen, and Dan Owen was our athletic, like he was our conditioning coach for lacrosse, and he was hilarious, dude, in the sense that like this guy won over all our parents, but like could totally like, he wasn't the head coach, he wasn't like the assistant coach, like he was the conditioning coach, so like he could be crazy, right? Like
I know that crazy.
One position you're allowed to be crazy.
We ran through the woods the one day as like a punishment, and he went all camo, and like we were told if he caught you through the woods and he hid like in different areas like off of the trail, and like if you got caught, like you were in trouble, like you had to keep running to like the end of practice. And so like all of a sudden you'd see like him like coming out of the woods like at you. Like second best hands down story about this guy, like all of us were doing warm-ups, and there's this big pile of white dog shit just sitting there, and we're all like, just like no one wants to run through like the dog shit because you're like trying to do warm-ups and whatnot. Dan Owen comes over, grabs a pile of dog white shit, chucks it off the field. We're all like, looks at us, licks his fucking hand, and says, "Get back to practice." And like that guy, like he won over our parents, but like our parents didn't see those stories. Like they didn't see those things that we saw.
He played
like,
both sides of the card.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that's actually like a mentor or a teacher, but like to me, that was like when I was younger, that was like the epitome of like, we were lacrosse players that kind of like, I don't know, lacrosse kind of got like a different rep of like kind of hippies, like
goofballs,
long hair, kind of not the structured hockey players, but like the kind of burnout freaking lacrosse players was the era that I was still in. Now it's kind of like, it's like every other sport because it's huge now.
Yeah.
But that mentality, like having that kind of coach that just showed you like, oh, I don't have to grow up to be like this structured like jackass. Like I can be this guy who is able to have fun with like young kids who like I want to teach and like help pass on like these mentalities of like, you don't have to take life so serious. Like, I'm gonna throw some dog shit and lick my hand. Like what is you know what I mean? Like what are we doing here, folks? You know, so like for me, that's where like I know, like, it's so funny because now I go back thinking about like my characteristics, and I'm like structured and organized. Like
the guy throws dog shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like
adaptability, man.
Well, yeah, adaptability. So like that's where the adaptability.
That guy had a gameplay. He's like, all right, I'm gonna come out of the woods, and then when they think, you know, oh, we got him figured out, I'm gonna pick up the dog shit and throw it,
and then lick my hand.
Yeah, they're never gonna see it coming.
His go-to joke was, no one could get it. It was, what's the difference between a shirt and a vest?
What is it?
Or no, I'm sorry. Fuck that all up. What's the difference between an orange? That's what he would ask us. What is the difference between an orange?
It's a little different of a question.
And the answer was a shirt has sleeves and a vest doesn't. That's the difference between an orange. A shirt has sleeves and a vest doesn't. And no one understood that.
I'll be honest, right now I'm trying to figure out what it's saying.
I still will never understand that. I'm just gonna leave that one as like that is crazy. That guy keeps you guessing, dude. Yeah, crazy as a barn owl kind of comment right there.
Unreal.
No one will ever understand that one. That is some Dr. Seuss top tier.
Keep you up tonight.
Trip me out. Type of
what did he
joking
mean?
question. What is the difference between an orange? A shirt has sleeves and a vest doesn't.
No, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Profound. On this week's philosophy.
Yeah.
I'll be trying to wrap my head around that for a while.
So I thought of another one, quality wise. It was making me think of my rowing coach, Frank Sands. What a dog. Accountability, but like not accountability because it's your job to hold your students accountable, but because you genuinely want to see their growth and you want to hold them accountable to it. Like to see their mistakes and hold them accountable to them to help them grow, as opposed to just like slapping an F on a paper and just go, I mean, that's my job. You stunk, F, here you go.
Well, that for me was like, I didn't want to put like the school district that like I grew up. I didn't want to put them on blast because I didn't really learn shit.
Well, that's what the accountability is like. It's also, you're accountable to teach me. So like there were some lapses in my education and that for sure. But like that's what makes it tough is like I think of my rowing coach. Like when we screwed up, like you were fucked. You knew oh my God. You knew immediately, and when you came off the boat, like doing the jumpies, jumpies like squat down and then you jump after your squat. I mean, you screw up, bro, like in your team's doing it with you. It's not just you. Your team's, unless you really screwed up, your team's doing it with you. So everyone learns. And you're being held accountable that way. You're going to look everyone in the eye like, yeah, I screwed up. But that was like, it was seen as like, that was part of the shtick. Like, if I didn't have to be there, but like, to know like that's going to help me grow as a person who looks out for the people around me, person who looks out for myself, to not make a mistake again. Yeah, it was through freaking pain and torture of just my legs not working after a while. I mean, killer legs, dog. But like, yeah, I think it was to gently, just because like he could have held me accountable in different manners. I think of teachers who like, yeah, the accountability, or you're being held accountable because I'm, you didn't meet the requirements. I'm going to give you a crappy grade. But like, a lot of the time became disingenuous and not like actually holding me accountable to fail and then help me find ways to grow after that failure.
Yeah, the teacher, like growing up, like that we have so many teachers. Like I look back like over the years, like I know for me, in every single one of our grades that we had like teams, and like you would have a different teacher for like every single like subject. So like, but I don't know about you guys, like seems like some of your teachers might have been like the teacher for 2 subjects. But like, yep. I know for a fact that like I probably had like 40 or 50 teachers like over the years of like from kindergarten to, graduating from Bethel Park in 12th grade. And like, I also said I wasn't going to put them on blast, but like, they also spelled my name incorrectly on my high school diploma. And that pissed my mom off like no other. So like, as much as like I said I wasn't going to put them on blast, it's okay if I put them on blast because they didn't even spell my name right. Motherfuckers. But anywho, so like those teachers, like they had a very important job to do. And like I can sit here and I can say 2 fucked up things about like what I remember from like growing up. Like I can remember teachers who wanted to hook up with each other, and I can remember the teacher who possibly was hooking up with like the freshly graduated like seniors, you know what I mean? Like right after. Those are the 2 messed up things that I can remember. Like, yeah, did I have a couple teachers throughout the way? Like my physics teacher, like obviously got me into like engineering and like got us to go to like the trade show that year that was in Pittsburgh. And like that got me into like, oh yeah, I totally want to do this. So like I look back on those things and like that's where like this whole podcast of like where I was like, oh, I was living this life where I didn't really want to do it. Like, no, I wanted to be an engineer, but like now I've realized like I want to do stuff for myself. And like I want to take that like problem solving kind of stuff that like I've learned from here and maybe try to actually become a teacher, because I definitely don't have patience. So I can't be a teacher right now. But like, not putting anybody on blast, but like those teachers have a very important role to play, like in the development of us. And I can't sit here and say that I didn't have, because I did, a shit ton of teachers that just felt like they were doing it for the paycheck. Like they might have got into it for the right reasons of like they wanted to teach people, but then realized like, oh, I didn't want to teach. The only job I could get is 10th grade social studies, and this isn't what I wanted. You know what I mean?
It just gets stopped there.
Yeah, so you get the teacher who like doesn't want to be in the role that they're in because they just have to take whatever's available at that point in time.
Yeah.
So it's not even what they're passionate about. So they're just going through the motions, and that's where that genuine give a fuck is so important.
Yep.
It just solidifies it again of where having someone who doesn't care. I mean, what are we even doing here? This is just going to be a waste of 45 minutes.
Yeah, we're done for the day.
Where you get the, that's where you get the word crosses and all the.
Oh, that was awful.
Here, we're watching a movie today. This week we're watching Finding Nemo, but we're going to watch all the different parts. Each part you're going to get 40 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
We watched Finding Nemo, I think, with we watched different, like Ratatouille with Spanish subtitles.
Yeah.
It was like not even in Spanish.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Subtitles. I was like, okay, I guess I'll learn a few words every now and then.
Yep.
But that to me would be like, what are those couple characteristics that like, I mean, that we have an astronomical list, but like right then and there, the don't give a fuck, that's definitely on a teacher who's a garbage teacher. That's on the list. Unmotivated, like that well, we had a ton here, man. Withdrawn, we
makes
had
up excuses.
Yeah, makes excuses,
no
not
plan.
Present. Plays favorites. Those ones.
Oh, drives you crazy.
Oh, man.
God, on every level of my life, I've come across that. Like communication at my school was the basketball degree. That was where all the basketball players did, all the athletes actually. That was the athlete degree that you just kind of like, I'll show when I need to type thing.
Yeah.
Oh God, but there were a couple of teachers that like it didn't matter. They loved them. It didn't matter what they did, how often they showed up, and just like me, like working full time in college and then making time to still come in person to class, every single class, and then seeing people get passed by just because they were an athlete.
Oh, we're talking college level now.
I'm like, yeah, just in general,
okay.
like, but
In
like
general,
just like
general.
playing favorites, just like in college or like high school, like people like Brandon, I hated. I mean, Brandon just got special treatment all the time. Everyone thought Brandon was cute. Brandon got to just leave. He played every sport, so he didn't actually have to come to class. He's like, how many sports can I play? 6? You guys want to start a ping pong team? That was back in the day, though. The early dismissal for playing a sport.
Early dismissal? What was that?
Like soccer, you'd be able to get out early if you have a game.
Oh, okay.
You had to travel or something. But yeah, teachers playing favorites in general, though, very tough. Because, like, again, the kid's like, well, why do I even, you're not bought into me. You just, I can't do anything right.
Yeah. Yeah, when a teacher is easily manipulated into playing those games or enjoys playing those games.
Like, you're the adult in the room.
Yeah, like, you're supposed to be bigger than this. But no, I would say transitioning over into what we actually... I love this next conversation that we're going to have where Brandon is going to absolutely just smash away teacher versus a mentor or a leader. So to blow our minds here.
We select like the school, but we don't get to select the teachers. We can meet some of the teachers and that might guide our decisions, but it's not like you're going to handpick every single teacher unless you're like, I don't know, you're in some kind of school I've never heard of. You're just going to get who you get. Your mom or dad might be able to like complain and be like, I don't like this teacher, I want out. That actually happened to one. My old Spanish teacher in grade school, I think John and maybe one other person might have not had to take Spanish, but this lady literally took his pen off of him, went, here, you're not using it, gives it to me. Like, he'll probably use it today. Because I was like 11 and I didn't bring my pencil to class, and she's like, pretty much like, F you, here, Brandon, have his pen. Like, so the mentors, I feel like those ones we seek out. And we were discussing before the episode started how mentors, they're often the people who guide us and tell us about what they've done. And teachers, they might be more under the role of like, they might be able to show us and ask us questions. Like they're trying to be provocative and trying to help us to find our way.
Yeah.
But I think the mentors, that's like on us. If you get assigned a mentor, I think that's good, but I feel like it's really the best thing to just like try to seek out your mentor, find whose personality and temperament can kind of match your learning style and approach. And you have to at least like them a little bit, or at least like respect where they're coming from. Because if you have a teacher or professional mentor, anybody that you don't like or respect, then you're going to have a really tough time unless you're like extreme go-getter and able to just, I feel like we all have that quality between us that if the teacher's not doing their job, we'll just go teach ourselves. Because I know at least Derek and I have had that experience where it's like, fine, I'll just teach myself.
Right.
Like, I guess I'll just get there somehow. But the mentors, those are the ones where like, it's like, I'm coming to you not because I need it, but because I want it.
Yeah.
Like, I want
they don't
that
have
extra.
any skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're not obligated to.
Yeah. Like leads for when I worked sales. It was so great. I like, there's people you definitely want to go to ask. But then there's people like you would actively always go to ask. And I'd be like, we'll say for instance, since Derek works sales, I'd be like, I know when I am working a few cubicles over, I hear the conversations you're having. I don't need to hear them on the other end. I know they're going well.
Yeah.
Like, I know you guys have great banter. So I would like, after they take the call, I go over, trying to think about Connor. Connor was the name of a guy who sat next to me. And he was the first person I did that. I was like, man, you do like a really good job on calls. Like, can you tell me like some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah.
And he's the same age as me, maybe like a year younger.
Yeah.
But I'm still like picking his brain. I'm like, man, I got a lot to learn from you, man. You're like killing the game. But mentors, I feel like those are the ones we seek out and we should be seeking out. But the teachers, those are just the ones you get what you get, more or less.
I'm not someone who has been a part of like a boxing club or like done like karate or what would be like any kind of stuff like that. But to me, that's where I would think like the teacher, like a teacher, if you want to go learn karate, you're going to want to find a good teacher, and it's going to be mandatory that you pick that teacher to be able to learn those skills. But being at that dojo or whatever, you might find the guy who's been there, you're starting out at this level 1, that guy's at level 12 now, and you're both trying to get to level 20. That guy might be the mentor that helps guide you while you're there. Like, so you seeked out the guy who's doing the same thing that you're doing or is above you or, you know, pursued it a little bit longer than you, but has a similar personality, someone who you can get along with, versus the guy who has all the knowledge in the front of the room that's like, well, I got to deal with Mr. Miyagi. Like, there ain't no fucking picking nobody else because Mr. Miyagi's the guy with all the fucking information. So some bitch, like, I'm stuck with this jabroni. Like, to me, that's where the teacher is like, if I want to go learn something, there's only X amount of people who are going to be able to actually pass on that knowledge well, because that guy who's been there for the level 12, or even the guy who's the black belt who's still just coming there to just continue like sharpening his skills and is not the teacher, he might not have those abilities to be able to be that communicative, like all that, but is able to, you know, communicate with you or be personable with you because your personalities match, your energies match. But that to me was like, that's where the separation between the mentor and the teacher is. Like, I'm stuck with like, there are 12 options for a teacher versus like a million people that are potentially doing the similar things to what I'm doing who might have similar personality that I could get along with.
Yeah, you could see it like through a different lens.
Yeah.
Help you visualize it from a different perspective.
Yeah, give you those like, all right, these are the things that we don't do around here. Mr. Miyagi ain't gonna tell you none of these fucking things.
These are the unwritten rules.
These are the unwritten rules.
Don't do this.
Don't do this bullshit, man.
Yeah, that guy's looking out for you from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
So that to me was the
way.
difference between the mentor versus the teacher.
Yeah. I guess that's why I thought about mentors too. For me, it was like, sure, in jobs, like in a professional manner, I have had mentors that weren't particularly my boss, but have taught me things along the way. But eventually, when thinking about this episode, I started just branching off into where the overlying theme of our podcast is just about my growth in general. And that's why I had like the questioning of like, I don't know if I'm like comparing a mentor as like someone who's like a life coach, someone who looks out for me and just my personal growth. But like, yeah, so you mentioned like they're optional, but like that's why I struggle with whether or not I haven't found a mentor because of my own fault, or like why don't I seek out people to like help me with my growth as much as a person.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it was like, am I standoffish? Do I come off as someone who's like, oh, I'm aware of my situation, like I'm cool, or like, is that the way I perceive myself on my end? And like, then you think about the professional manner too. Like, cool, like if you're not opening yourself up to those opportunities, then you're kind of becoming stagnant in where you are anyway. So like, that's one thing I thought of as far as like a mentor to me is like I think I need to start opening myself up a little more to the experience of other people and not be so like proud on my soapbox of like, oh, I know this or I can figure this out myself. Like being more vulnerable to ask for the help too. Because you gotta seek it out. It has to be reciprocated, I think. It has to be I have to want it and then like you have to open yourself to other people who want to see you grow too.
Is that your hot take on mentors?
I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take on
You had a
mentors.
hot take on mentors.
That was really just it. Like, I'm trying to think of like that was just me. Like, yeah, like, do I come off as like someone who doesn't need guidance? Like, do I am on my end? Do I just find myself like, oh, I'm aware of my problems? Like, if I go to like I went back and forth. Like, I went into therapy for a little bit, and then I just like stopped doing it. Probably because I didn't have a great therapist. I think not that the person isn't a good therapist, just that I didn't connect with that person. But I feel like I started just like talking about myself. I'm like, okay, I'm just talking about things I already know. It's not that I don't know what my issues are or how to solve them. It's the lack of interest in doing so.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I need to open myself up a lot more, like and make myself vulnerable in situations, whether it's in life or learning at work and being like, cool, like, yeah, I don't know anything or everything. And I think I do that professionally, but it's just I never can really look back and say like I've had a lot of teachers who weren't mandated to teach me.
Well, to me, that would like my thoughts on what is the GOAT teacher.
Right, which is where I think we came together on this.
The life experiences. So is it that you have had so many life experiences that you actually pay attention more to what's going on in your environment around you and learn from your environment more than so what this boils down to is having more awareness than other people for your surroundings.
Yeah, I think like yes, and the times I put myself out there as a person, the amount of experiences I feel like I've had in a short amount of time, and then actually like acknowledging them as true moments to grow and make a difference in my life. I feel like that's made it to a point where I don't look at myself further along the way than anybody else. I feel like in a lot of aspects I'm behind in some manners. Like that's not the way I look at it, but like as far as at least being able to sit in the awareness of situations, like that's what I wrote down. Like the greatest teacher I can think of is like truly to me, I have learned more from myself than I have from any person who's taught me in an outside force. And like, I just like, as far as learning has gone for me, it's always been the best when something resonates with me and I'm able to enjoy it. So like Brandon was talking about, like, or I'm sorry, you were talking about a mentor, like in the dojo. Like, not everything that person is going to tell you is going to stick with you. You're going to take those little bits and pieces along the way, and something's going to hit right at the right time, and then you got to be able to mold it and put it into like energy that's going to actually make a difference in your life.
Yeah.
And you have to actively seek that out. And I think sometimes like I've hindered myself in that manner of not actively seeking out or being ready for it when it comes. But I think for all the opportunities I sat there and sat with myself and thought about like past trials and tribulations, acknowledging where I went wrong and being okay with myself and sitting with it and wanting to grow. And then also putting myself out there for new experiences, like traveling or just talking to somebody I wouldn't otherwise talk to or whatever it may be. Like, I feel like that's where I've learned the most.
Well, it's challenging because you sit there and you're like,
I'm my greatest teacher. And you're like, wow, this feels like this is such a pompous fucking thing to say.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but hold up. Like, my life experiences, I've just paid attention to my surroundings. Like, oh, you didn't catch like the 14 different things in that TV show that we watched last week that were like all life lessons? Like,
Right.
oh, you didn't listen to the end of the Disney Channel movie? Like when there was like...
After the subtitles?
Yeah, like you didn't pay attention to the lesson that was learned at the end of this? Like, what the hell were you doing here, folks?
You're not opening yourself up to the opportunity. But when you do, that's when you learn the most.
Yeah. And so you feel like a dick saying that I'm my greatest teacher, but in reality, like you really are, because what you did was you just paid attention to the things that you did, you experienced, and then you actually took some time to like, whoa, beep boop bop boop compute, you know, like what the fuck just happened to me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So when I did this, it made Brandon feel this way. At least it seemed like it made Brandon feel this way. Like I could see the happiness just kind of like dwindle in his face when I did that one thing. So maybe I probably shouldn't do that next time. Or like, I'm going to have the awareness to like pay attention to when I start talking about that kind of stuff. Cause I could see that like Derek's face kind of like didn't enjoy the conversation. Like we were chatting and then like I saw both his feet kind of like turn away from like the conversation that we were having. Cause like, obviously like he didn't really want to continue having this conversation that we were having. Like those kind of things. Like I feel like that when you can sit here and really like, shit, I feel like I've learned more from that than I learned from school.
Yeah.
Ah, shit. I'm going to sound like such a douche when I talk to other people about like, well, how'd you learn in life? Or teachers, are you hot for them? Yeah, I'm hot for myself.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to check myself out in the mirror every damn time? Shout out to
I
you,
do.
Hoss. Like, fuck, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard. Like this topic, like I love this topic. I'm so glad we sat down and talked about this. And like for me, like we got to it. The goat. Like, do you have a goat outside of the teacher that you already discussed? Like fictional, non-fictional?
So mine, we're talking about the general category, like life, not
Greatest
an individual.
of all time, baby.
Mr. Feeney. No.
There's a battle between
Damn,
exercise and work, and they're not too far related.
Oh.
I'll try not to
Hard
dabble
work.
too much into either one.
Okay.
Exercise has built like a mental toughness of a series of self-talk that's just like built into an arsenal. And for a frame of reference for any listeners, my wife hates working out. Me, I'm like, she's like, I'd rather do like housework rather than work out. I'm like, I'll work out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
But I've had like an arsenal of self-talk built, and I have in our notes that, you know, it might be self-talk getting me through 2 more reps, or that might be self-talk or strategies that are getting me through 100 more feet. But I think working out builds that mental toughness. Will encapsulate. I have a big section on sports, but I'm not going to bore everyone. You know, me using self-talk, fighting asthma, getting through it, getting stronger because of it.
Yeah.
And then having all of that endurance, mental toughness built up. So in the notes, I wrote the word grit. So it was just like developing grit. But the other one I have is work. Just work in general. It's kind of a drag that, you know, we have to go to work. We have to go do these things to make money. But I'll tell you what, all those like things you learn about people, you learn about how people can be shitheads. People can honestly be just like extremely rude and disrespectful just because you're the person who has a uniform and they don't.
Okay.
And that shit pisses me off. But that happens everywhere you go. And after you've worked with somebody, like after you've talked with somebody, worked long enough, they're like, yeah, it's just work. That's what it is. It's like, yeah, kid, that's a part of life. And it's so funny when you see the 16-year-old who gets their first check and they're like, fuck, they took out like a third of the check for taxes. It's like, welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
Like, this is how it works. You know, you go to work. But I think a lot of things you learn about yourself. And I'll like put a little brief window of college into this because I'm counting that as a job kind of. But within work, you learn how to work and how to learn. You learn what takes longer to get things done and how you can learn faster.
Yeah.
And how you can deal with people, how you can interact, how you like get people to respect you, because honestly, some people, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So you learn. For me, I work parking right now, and some days one of my biggest jobs is that, like for Kenny Chesney, big part of my job that day is keep getting grown adults to act like grown adults. And that was a big job of mine that day, was just like, you learn how to work with people and how to like understand and balance. And the last little spiel I'll have about work is me leaving a certain job. I was telling them, hey, this is a system that is like not good for training purposes, not good for teaching. Here's what happens. You guys have this training that's happening on computer. You know what happens? All of us machinists don't have enough time to watch all those videos.
Yeah.
And if we only have to get like 70 or 80% on the trainings, then a lot of times we can just guess. We just figure it out, use our logic. But does that mean that we read those 12 pages? Hell no. While those 12 pages were running, like reading like 45 seconds per page or whatnot, I was over machining. I just got like 3 parts done while that shit's over there. And then I'm coming back 15 minutes later and then just clicking the assessment. So I told them at the end, I was like, hey, see, they were like, is there anything you'd like to improve or whatnot? And I was like, biting my tongue. I'm like, you know what? There's one thing. Training. Why don't you just like, instead of doing this all online, why don't we have like a checklist at every desk? There's like 12 essential skills you have to have.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, and you know it, your leads know it, managers know it, then like offer up to do somebody else's tool changes. Offer up to do those things until you have X amount of things crossed off for the skills, like a little objective for micro skills. You know what they said? Oh yeah, we're working on that. We're actually working on a computer program on that. And I'm just like, you didn't hear anything I just said. Like, I just told you, here's a problem. And then they're like, okay, yeah, nice. We're working on that problem with putting another problem in. Like, nice. I'm like, great. Yeah. All right, never mind. Gone back to the bleeding tongue. I'm gonna bite it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of my goat, was just work, which encapsulates exercise, college, career, anything within that.
Sports for me were definitely huge, man. Huge teacher up to 18. Like you didn't want to harp on that too hard, but dude, fire it away, dog. Like sports taught me so much up until that point, like how much I could actually put myself through. Because I remember I would go running in the evenings, like after we'd have practice, and then I'd go for a run after practice, and I'd go for like, dude, I used to go for like 8-9 miles, like after practice, and like just through the hills, like by my house, and like sick in the head kind of shit. Like, what the hell's wrong with this? Like,
it's like an hour and 10 minutes.
17-year-old kid. Yeah, some bullshit like that, dude. A good another hour and a half of just running. Like, I was in great shape, but like, the fuck was wrong with this kid? He had something in his head that wasn't computing correctly. But yeah, like, you learn a lot about yourself when you put yourself through those mental fortitudes of being able to like push yourself past another barrier, or learn another skill, or add something new to your repertoire that you like, oh, okay, I've mastered this skill now. I can do this in game against people. Oh man, I just absolutely disrespected that kid.
Dude, lacrosse is actually a huge one. I didn't put too much in the notes about that, but just the sheer like mastering the finesse of lacrosse. I'm not a master by any means, but I did work hard to work outside of practice and work outside of games, because I came up from playing high school 2 years, only 2 years of high school, and then played college. And dude, I was so terrible. Like, I was like one of the best at North Catholic, and then I immediately became one of the worst at Slippery Rock, because I couldn't do the left hand very well. I could throw and catch pretty well with right hand. I couldn't do long bombs. And you know how for defensive men, you need to have that in your back pocket. And I'll tell you what, this is the glory of it. I practiced so much in the off seasons. Second season I came back, it was the second semester. I was playing the best player. Actually, it was the third semester. So it was my third semester in. I got to play a lot for the second semester. First semester was terrible. Second semester played a lot. Third semester I was on the best guy all the time. Stuck on him like glue.
Nice, dude.
We had we had about like 90 some points scored for in under 10 against.
Jeez. Wow.
And by the end of the season.
Look at this guy.
And then in the it was like the think it was nationals. No, it was like the PA conference title for the state for our section. And I had, during that game, somebody came up to play me. Somebody with a long pole. They're like, he's not going to be able to get past me, run it down. I'm like, I'm not going to try to pass you, but you don't think I can make this pass? Threw it almost the entire length of the field. Boop, assist right there. He just ducked it in. And I was like, yes. I was like, all that training, all that side stuff.
Yeah.
Lacrosse is like one of the best humbling experiences because you could be athletic as you want, but if you don't put in some time, you're going to look like a schmuck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be bad.
I can't tell you how many times trying to throw the ball off the wall with my left hand, threw it into the ground, threw a dud, have to go catch it. Oh, shit, I lost one on the roof. Fuck.
Yep.
You know, like you put in so much time to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah, the sports and exercise, I think like it's the greatest momentum builder for sure. Like having the ability to like see yourself tangibly do things you don't think you're capable of on a consistent basis can just carry over to your life so often. And like there's so many times like even just nowadays like continuing to exercise and like putting that discipline in and trying to work out and like go in like cool, I got to work out in, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that, or like it's a way to end the day or whatever, and you feel good about it. Like it's just stacking those things. Like cool, I can feel good about this. That's going to relate me into doing this, and then I'm going to do that. And I just think as far as momentum goes for you, it's a great lesson to learn is through the exercise for sure, and sports in general too. Like yeah, just being able to, just like I said, my rowing coach, there is no friggin' way I can row a boat, dude. That's insanity. To tell me, like, I'm looking at what they're doing, there's no way I can do that. But actually seeing the progress and then becoming a higher tiered rower, like, it was really important for me. But like, those are lessons. It's just like, yeah, cool. You're just rowing a boat down the river. It's nothing too impactful, but
Yeah.
that's on the surface. But I think underneath, there's a lot there that actually helps you build into the person you become.
I think the exercise, I don't know if there would be another thing that you could do for yourself, like a personal hobby. Like even like I'm starting to sit here and think of like, oh, cooking for yourself every day or writing in your journal every day. Like I think that exercise, the momentum towards what would be our most important topic that I think we've solidified of discipline over motivation. Building that momentum to being fully disciplined, you're able to see that from like, oh, I ran 1 mile this week but next week I can run 2 miles now.
Right.
Oh, this is cool. And something that you and I were talking about recently is like you ran 8 days in a row and there were people who were like blown away by like that topic. And like for you being someone who works in sports, like, and someone who sees like athletes and hold yourself as someone who's capable of being able to do these like big defeats. Like we went on a 200-mile bike ride over 2 days, like these kind of things. Like, so for you, like sitting here thinking like running 8 days in a row, like it's running 8 days in a row.
I just
right?
got up
like,
and did it for 8 days. Like,
I
did it. Like,
like some people told you like, wow, that's so inspiring. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm blown away. Like, I can't imagine doing that. Like, but seriously, like,
I know, but that's how that's
me,
my
like,
issue because that's what I do. I'll just go, okay.
I think that is so fascinating on like that whole like building up of your personal self,
I agree
because
completely.
you can truly see the growth that happens with it.
You embody it.
Yeah. And it's you're physically seeing it in your body, you're physically seeing it in your capabilities.
It makes you feel different.
Your energy, you feel different. It's a whole mentality change completely. 180 personality.
Yeah.
Almost. And that momentum of being able to see that growth is like the thing that I feel like a lot of us, when we try to like go on a diet or we try to like start working out for ourselves again or like do something that's ultimately towards like our personal growth, it's hard to see that like actual success.
Right.
And actually feel that success to where I feel like that's kind of like the breaking point for why people give up, because it's hard to see that growth. And like, oh, I ran 1 mile for 2 weeks, but I only ran 1 mile for 2 weeks. Whoa, hold up. It was right then and there. That was the problem. It was that you were doing stuff, but you downplayed the shit that you were doing.
Yeah.
And so you right then and there were your own worst enemy, your own worst teacher, your own worst mentor, to where like you have to be that person for yourself, because you might not ever get that opportunity to have someone come into your life who might be that mentor.
Yeah.
So you have to be that person for yourself. And once again, it just comes back to the ultimate statement of you got to do it for yourself. No one's coming to hold Derry's hand and say, all right, Derry, we're going for a run today.
That's how I was going to close the episode. I was going to ask you guys what the best lesson you ever learned was. And I wrote, no one is going to make more of an impact on your life than you. I think through the combination of being inspired by others and through my own trial and error, the one thing that stands out to be the person I know it can be, I have to put myself first. No one else will do it for me.
Bingo.
Yeah, you said it.
It's all about doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the best lesson. It's a steep one. I'm not sure what my biggest lesson would be. I would say a really good one that's related to what we talked about. And I promise it's probably not the best piece of advice I've ever had, but it had an impact. In here, I mentioned former Steelers running back Jack Delaplane. He was our strength and conditioning coach, total badass. He was actually a lot harder on the linemen than the specialists. So we would work out, and then we might like run steps, and then we'd go run like drills and stuff, like passing, running, doing laps, and then we'd like run sprints at the end, something, all get back together. But he was tough, and he was a hard ass, and he pushed everybody to go harder and harder. He was like old school football. Like he was like, I'm gonna play some cherry pie, and all of you are gonna be and we're all on like a cycle of like hey,
what a
get your shit up, don't be setting those weights down, get them back up, like that type of badass. But I remember both my brothers were older than me that went in and had him as a coach, and he challenged them both and pushed, and a lot of people weren't that crazy about him as far as like working out, but there's a lot of people who also like everybody respected him. But I remember whenever I shook his hand his last day of strength and conditioning, he said, hey, he didn't say any remarks to anybody else. I was the last person, like, he goes, hey, Smitty, keep working hard. You're going to be something someday. And that stuck with me, because I was like, man, this guy went to the Super Bowl and won. He was Franco Harris's backup. So he went to the Super Bowl. This guy told me, like, this guy who's a total hard ass and, kind of sometimes picked on players a little bit to push them. But him telling me that, I was like, man, really, I can't do anything. I showed up before we even went to the school. I came as an 8th grader to practice early. They invited me to come up. I practiced with everybody who's older than me. I showed up to all the strength and conditioning all the way through, just like kept showing up to practices that were optional, like in May. You don't have to go work out in May, but it's there, and certain people are always there. Me, Ween, we were always there. But yeah, him saying that at the end, I was like, man, it was like a pat on the back for like, dude, you're really special. You've been here way more hours than you need to be. And my brothers would snitch on me if I wouldn't show up. So, but yeah, I was just like, man, that really stuck with me. Like, if you just like, it's really cheesy, but if you like keep putting in the time, keep putting in the effort, like you'll go somewhere. And, certainly there's cases like that with, I'm never going to be like like an Eddie Van Halen, but in the areas that are within my scope, as long as I keep pushing, it always becomes something.
Yeah.
Yeah, to ride out on this episode, my final piece would be lessons and growth don't always come from a teacher or a personal situation. They can come from the most unorthodox situations. So, for instance, we were talking about traffic earlier, teaching patience. So for me, it's not always that you're going to find this in a person or a place or a thing, but you might find this in just your everyday life.
Yeah. Oh, dude. We could talk for another hour. I don't want to talk about it. But yes,
Haters, are you hot for them? Appreciate you guys riding out with us. I got Derry, we got Brandon, Zach's here, and we appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Dismount Podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, don't hesitate to catch next week's episode. Episode 24, Nature. Will you answer its call? The three goons get together and they discuss returning to nature or just having a relationship with nature in general. Love y'all. See you guys soon.